What an afternoon it's been. I feel so small looking at all the children from the Indian Cancer Society, and my story is so different. But I promised that I would speak to you, and so here I am. It's an honor to be here where I've seen so many of you perform over my last 6 years of being an SIS mom. I'm very happy to see that the school organizes such events where you children can learn from others' life experiences. I cannot express the joy and gratitude that I feel when I'm in front of such a large audience. Firstly, because I love to talk. And more importantly, the fact that you can understand what I'm saying. Some of you may think why I'm making such a big deal about it. Well, it's a big deal for me because more than 40% of my tongue has been removed and I survived a last stage cancer. The road was not easy. It entailed multiple surgeries followed by months of treatment, chemo and radiation. The long-term survival rate of this kind of cancer is in low single digits. So yes, here I am on the stage 15 years later, and you can all understand the words that are coming out from my mouth. So it's a big deal. The fight with cancer is more mental than physical. There are a range of emotions that went on through my mind during my journey with cancer. Early on, just like the skit that depicted the girl, I was in a stage of absolute denial. I had developed a small ulcer on my tongue which advanced into stage 4 cancer in just 7 months. I had no bad habits, no smoking, no tobacco, no pan, no addiction, and most of the doctors used to compliment me for my excellent teeth and oral hygiene. A lot of antibiotics were given to me because even the doctors at first did not suspect cancer. But I totally ignored the obvious. I was so foolish that in 7 months of my pregnancy, I even went for a month-long road trip from Bombay to Ladakh and came back. And the ulcer only got worse. I was living in a state of complete denial because I thought cancer is something that happens to someone else, not to me. When we finally went for the biopsy, the doctor was just 20 minutes late and I thought it's a sign from God that I don't have cancer and I should not do the biopsy, and I just ran away. It's only my husband who pushed me and put his foot down that I must do the biopsy the next day. The stage of denial, after that I was in that reckless state of mind. My father and my husband, who are the two main decision makers of my life, they went on a business trip because I told them I definitely will not have cancer. You guys go ahead, I'll just collect the report. I went to collect the report and I called up my dad and I said, this is saying squamous cell carcinoma and it says it's poorly differentiated. That means that it is a very advanced stage of cancer. My husband rushed back and we were all in shock. The biopsy was positive. And I alone, before my husband got back from Delhi, I actually met one oncosurgeon. He told me that he would cut off my tongue. He did not know whether I would be ever able to speak again or not. My neck would be operated. They would remove all the lymph nodes. There would be adjunct chemotherapy and radiation therapy that I would need to do. And the quality of my life would be totally compromised. Somehow it was too much in one day for me to absorb, and all by myself. I came back home, my husband was back from Delhi, and I told him, I just don't like this doctor. He told me I can't even feed my baby. How can I deprive my child? My husband could not understand what is there to like a doctor. But for me, if I don't have a mental connect with someone, I just don't like them. After this, there was so much confusion because I have a very large family. Everybody came up with different references from Tata Memorial, and all the doctors had different protocols. A close relative who had lost a son few years ago actually told my husband that don't even bother treating her because the patient will die of the disease and you will die of paying for those bills. Mentally, I was in a turmoil because the prognosis was not good. Everybody was rolling out statistics. Mean survival rate of X%, median death rate of Y%. All the scenarios that were emerging were not encouraging. And I started to think about the unthinkable. I may have to undergo a complicated surgery which would compromise my vocal cords. Removal of my tongue. I may not be able to talk again. All leading to a very compromised quality of life. What if I get sucked into a never-ending loop of treatments? I had seen some close family members go through the same ordeal, and I didn't want that. And even after having done all the treatment, there was no guarantee that I would survive or I would have a good quality of life. I also thought that what if I were to succumb to cancer in the next few months? What will happen if the surgery is not successful? A lot many emotions just flitted across my mind, and I felt I'm somehow like in a video game. Though I wanted to take it slow, I wanted to put my race bike in the first gear and absorb everything. But life was just throwing challenges one after the other, and the very long distance that you have to go through life was just coming back to me as nerve-breaking speed. And the odds were overwhelmingly stacked against me. This looked like a game I could not win. After meeting several other patients, I saw that they were broken not only in the body but also in the mind and spirit. I realized that this is not a physical but a tough mental battle. I decided that I would fight it headlong. My answer to cancer would be not why me, but try me. You must have seen a lot of war movies, a lot of period dramas. Can you recall that just before the battle is about to begin, the general rallies his army, his troops, and draws energy from this reservoir by appealing to their love, faith, and hope. Love for their family and country, faith in God and their king, and hope that if they win the battle, even if they die in the process, they are building a better world for their children. So just like the war movies, I was not going to get bogged down by these numbers or statistics. I did what the brave generals did and brought out my inner love, faith, and hope. My overwhelming love for my children. I wanted to see my children grow up. I wanted to nourish and nurture them and make them ready for the world. My son was too small to understand anything that was happening. And the looks that my daughter, all of 2.5 years old, gave me, it was as if she could sense that someone was taking her mama away from her. The love and fear that I could see in her eyes, all this ignited a fire in me. The fire to survive, persevere, and go charging into the battle. I had enormous faith in God, my doctor, and my husband, the key people in my fight against cancer. In that particular order, of course: God, doctor, husband. God, because I'm of the firm belief that He chose me and that He always has a plan. I would like to talk a little about my doctor. I had met 2 senior oncologists and refused to undergo surgery with them since I didn't have a mental connect. But the moment I met Dr. Sultan Pradhan, he just put his hand on my head and said, "Bete, don't worry." And I felt that half my problems and worries were over, and I would blindly do exactly as he says. He is my walking God, God embodied in a human form. The empathy and concern with which he addresses every patient, you all feel that you are a part of his huge family. He's so committed to his work that he operated me on the day his daughter got married. I remember lying down on the hospital bed and hearing the Bharat sounds. The process of healing is much more to do with the mind than the body. Believe me, you can train your mind and increase your threshold of tolerating pain. And most of all in this battle was my husband, because he was the person who was scouring the length and breadth of the country to meet all kinds of experts. He left no stone unturned and explored all possible avenues, medical, magical, mystical, to get to the desired outcome. The hope that I could spend more time with my husband and my family, raise my kids, travel the world, inspire more people, make people happy, and influence their lives in a positive way. That was the third strong pillar of my fight. Just because of my strong determination, I could go for my radiation and chemo sessions for months. Though the radiation burned and melted the skin on my face, it did nothing to my determination. The cocktail of cancer medicines would leave me perennially nauseous and without appetite. My mouth and neck were ulcerated. I could not even swallow plain water. I was being fed with a feeding tube in my stomach. And in these moments, I would sometimes hallucinate. In one particular dream, I could see myself as the sun, at the center of the solar system, and there were 8 or 9 planets revolving around me. On each of those planets, I saw different faces of my oncosurgeon, my homeopath, my radiologist, the chemo doctor, and even of the face of the hospital receptionist. I was stuck in a time warp with all these people, and every face was coming back to me with the same frequency as the rotation of the planets. But one day I suddenly woke up. I got a strong premonition that if I take any further treatment, the quality of my life will be compromised. So I decided to call it off. There was so much emotional blackmail. All my relatives started calling up, saying things like, "You have to live for the kids. You can't be so selfish. You must continue the treatment." My father even threatened to take me for chemo on a stretcher to the hospital. But in hindsight, I think it was a good decision, because we were following a very aggressive treatment protocol which was yet to be proven. Many patients who followed a similar protocol succumbed to death during the clinical trials. So my family thought that Dr. Pradhan is the only person I would listen to continue with the treatment, and they took me to him. He looked lovingly at me and said, "Don't do anything, just go for a holiday to a cold place." And that's what I did. I went to Kashmir and started recovering well. After coming back, I adopted homeopathy, Ayurveda, a lot of Reiki was given to me, but I did not continue with any allopathic treatment after that. I've become a successful case study for many doctors, and I'm grateful for that. All the relatives, जिन्होंने जितनी मन्नत मांगी थी, whether it was at Jodhpur, Salasar Balaji, Mahim Church, Gurudwara in Bhatinda, Ajmer Sharif, my husband and I, we visited each of those shrines, and we still visit them on an annual basis just because we feel a feeling of gratitude. It is now almost 15 years since my first twist with cancer, and I can say with confidence that most things in my life, my choices, my decisions, my actions, even the people I gravitate towards, literally my entire personality is all shaped by this epiphany. At that time, I didn't know how many years I would live, so I've raised my kids to be independent in thought and action. My message to you kids is, live in the now, enjoy every moment, find balance in life between work and leisure. I traveled the world, I've visited 40 countries already. Wherever we travel, we make it a point to catch up with friends and meet family. I'm very grateful for all the support that I've received and the power of their prayers which gave me the strength to fight this. I would just like to part with a song, Zindagi ek safar hai suhana, yahan kal kya ho kisne jana. Whatever may be the odds, life is beautiful. Embrace it. Carpe diem.